Everybody enjoying the food? All right.
All right, this is, I don't know how serious this question can be, but this person asks, when can we get a Chick-fil-A?
So some of you might be asking, could we get a Chick-fil-A? Like I believe Oakland University has one, right? Okay. So what we do have here in terms of brands, and a lot of times we get asked Taco Bell and all these different things. It depends quite a bit on different licensing agreements. So I don't know if you know this or not, but at Oakland University, for instance, their food service company is Chartwell, and Chartwell has an agreement with Chick-fil-A. That's part of the reason there's a little Chick-fil-A outlet at Oakland University. Our friends here with Picasso, they have, for instance, a licensing agreement with Starbucks. That's why we serve Starbucks here. And that's how those things happen. But I would turn that over to Will and talk about other brand relationships that Picasso has from a corporate standpoint.
We do have good corporate sponsorships or partnerships, I mean, with Coca-Cola. That's why we have a wide vast of their products. We don't go into a lot of other companies like that because we want to kind of be our own. You know, we want to be able to put out a wide range of products and do different things like that. And honestly, to get a partnership like that is major, major dollars. And it's something we haven't had here yet on this campus, or honestly, at any of the campuses we are right now. But with something like that, like I said, it's all about how much revenue is coming in at the end of the day.
Yeah, so my boss, Mike Haig, Vice Chancellor of Business and Finance, who is not on this panel, has another answer.
Part of you might be thinking about the food vendors that are in the pavilion too, right? So there's other food. Picasso is over here, obviously, but in the pavilion we have other vendors over there. One of them just changed over to the smoke rattle and roll. And that's how we have Subway and the other vendors that are there. Whenever one of those opens up, anybody can come in. So we don't necessarily put them out to bid all the time, but that's how the folks that sold pizza, Jilly's Pizza, wanted to sell. They wanted to get out of business, and they sold it to this company, Smoke Rattle and Roll. So if there was a Chick-fil-A franchisee in the area that wanted in here, they could buy into one of those spots. And they would just pay us rent, and anybody can come in and do that if they want to buy into there. But I'll let you know that Jilly's left here because they were losing money. So that's the other side of that. So that's what the relationship is with the vendors on that side. It's not through Picasso. We just rent them space and wherever we want to come and sell something.
Okay, so I know that you can ask a question anytime, so just raise your hand anytime you want, and I can come over there and hand you the microphone. But moving on to the next question, what is maize money? What is the monetary equivalent? And why are these two separate types? This person is referring to the blue bucks in Ann Arbor and maize money here in Flint.
So again, my name is Gina, and I'll talk about the meal plan portion. So on this campus, we have both dining dollars and maize money. And the difference between our dining dollars and maize money is where you can use them and then who gets what. So if you live in First Street Residence Hall and you have a mandatory meal plan, your meal plan is split up between dining dollars and maize money. Your maize money, you can use them at all of the locations on campus. So all of our food vendors, you can use it at the rec center, printing services, in the laundry machines. You can use it in the vending machines. You can use it at the bookstore. So maize money is the most flexible plan of the two. Dining dollars are restricted to only the Picasso locations. So that's the difference between maize money and dining dollars. Ann Arbor has a separate program on their campus that is Blue Bucks, and that's just their currency for that campus. And we don't transfer them back and forth between the campuses. Our accounting practices and all of our business relations are separate from the Ann Arbor campus. And the value is dollar to dollar. So if you put $50 of maize money onto your M card, you get $50 of spending power. Okay? Does that answer that question, or anybody have any follow-up? All right.
Next question. Students are made aware that food services will tailor menu items to fit their specific needs for dietary restrictions, allergies, etc. However, this is limited to only 20 students. Is food services willing to create a general vegan or vegetarian option so that more students can be accommodated?
So with us in Picasso, the biggest thing is about informing everybody. We do have some different options, and we're trying to expand our vegan and vegetarian options. But without you letting us know that you're looking for that, we can or we won't make that mark. Seeing someone the same day every day, they may not remember you because they may see 400 other faces that day. So just always make them aware, hey, I'm vegan, I need this made that way, please. And we can accommodate to everybody. It's not just 20 students. Big thing, like you said, it's just communication. You know, if someone's feeling like they're not getting what they need or they're having issues finding things, you know, we can set up a meeting, sit down, talk about different ideas, different food preparation plans and things like that to satisfy really anyone's needs.
All right, I guess we'll move on to the next question. What are the Picasso's workers' training and or regulations for customer service and tactics?
We always want everybody to be friendly, happy, nice, everything like that. I have had some people talk to me about some issues. If anyone has an issue with customer service, you know, I do have my business cards at, I believe, all the locations. Please reach out to me. We don't want anyone to feel like they're not important. Everyone is important, or we wouldn't be in business, honestly. When there are issues, we handle them internally, personally, and if it's something that can't be taken care of, we will let go of that employee and we'll work forward with another person.
I would also like to add that if any student at any time runs into something where they feel that they were not treated with respect and with kindness, or if they see something that doesn't seem right, to please immediately come downstairs. My office is right across the hallway, and find someone from EBS, because we're in constant communication with Will, and we want to make sure that those issues are resolved. So what I would encourage people to do is, the second it happens, tell us. There's not going to be negative repercussions towards you or retaliation. We need to know so we can take action. What's hard for us is when somebody sits on that information for 2 weeks or puts it on social media or those sorts of things. We want to resolve issues. We take these things very, very seriously, but we need you to be the eyes and ears, because Will wants that as well, but we can't nip those problems in the bud and resolve those issues unless we're told right away. So please do that, even if it's off after hours. If you find an EBS employee, like Sierra is one of them, and I think Pete walk in, and Angela, if they're working, so any of our students who work at EBS, find them and tell them they know how to text me and get a hold of me. I'll get a hold of Will, and we will resolve this right away. So please know that.
Just want to point out, there's a third location if you do have a concern about customer service in any venue, and that's the office of the Dean of Students in room 375 upstairs.
And to add to that, at each cash register that you go to, there's a QR code, a feedback code. It generates an email right to Will and myself. So, you know, you don't have to leave the location to make a report or to send us an email about your concerns. So you can scan that QR code, it'll pop up our email addresses, and you can send us a quick email about the situation as well. So there's a lot of different ways for us to receive that feedback, and that's what we really need to hear from you so that we can address any concerns.
One more thing, and then I promise we'll move on from this question.
So I just want folks to know that this is certainly a broader concern and a broader issue on this campus. We're working really hard to establish a number of different feedback loops so we can ensure that students have a number of different opportunities and channels to provide feedback on a variety of topics. So please, we've sent out in our last Wolverine Weekly what these feedback loops are, and we're going to continue to promote them and advertise them, but we need your feedback. It can be done in person or anonymously, but on any topic, any concern, any issue, any feedback, both positive and negative. It's really important as we continue to become the place that we want to be, that we hear directly from you, okay?
So I think the question was about whether or not there were programs that were already implemented or were there already programs with employees, not what happens after the fact or what feedback loops that we have. So we're curious more on, is there a precautionary measure that's already been set in place for these issues? Not what happens after the fact, or if we have feedback that's being set in place. Because it doesn't matter what happens after the fact, because what happens after the fact is what you guys want to address. But if you're trying to put things in place beforehand, that's more beneficial to our students. Because if a situation were to occur, it's not going to benefit any of our students if someone's getting attacked, if someone's being sexually harassed or anything like that along those lines, if you guys are willing to not address those things pre-hint. So we wanted to know what are the questions, what are the programs that are being offered to your employees before they start working?
So to answer a couple of the questions you had, we actually did sit down, I can't remember the group on campus, and did go through a sexual harassment training, peer educators. We did do that, I believe it was right before the beginning of the fall semester. We do some internal training. We do have several serve-safe employees on there to make sure food standards are met, things of that sort, different temperatures, dating of things, everything like that. Like I said, we just go through kind of the same process as, when someone's starting, we show them what they're going to be doing, throughout the day, how to handle situations, who to come to with any type of concern when they're unsure of something. Because it's really difficult to train somebody, for every situation when they work 10 hours a week or something like that. But a lot of our, employees that work a lot longer have more fast training.
All right, we'll move on to the next question. This one, so students that are here on the weekends don't have any options to go to except Starbucks. Why can't Picasso be open for certain hours on the weekends? We are on a budget with regular money.
So this is a struggle, and I can understand why students feel this way. And so we have I've been in EBS for nearly 5 years, and we monitor data to make a lot of the decisions that we make based on how long hours are open, where locations are needed, and those sorts of things. So for instance, part of how we figured that out is how we have the hours that we have at the White Building and when there's traffic flow there and when people will be there. Because it is expensive to operate all of the locations and to do so for long periods of time. On weekends, we have very low traffic. In fact, the way that it works now is the amount of hours that we are currently open on weekends down here at Starbucks as a kiosk is not a period of time where money is made enough to pay the workers who are there. But we feel strongly that we have to have options open for students who are here on weekends, but we have to limit the hours and try to find some sort of balance. And so this is a very difficult decision. It's one that we review often, and we are open to more feedback about that or what you might also find as solutions. But it's a struggle for all of us. I don't know if anything else.
So is it beneficial to starve students opposed to have operating costs? Is that what we're looking at? Or is that how we're measuring this? Because it's crazy that we're going to sit here and say 2 days out of the weekend are feasible for our students to go without feeding. Our food pantry that we do have has done a great job to somewhat address some of those needs, but to suggest that you guys can't be open from at least 8 to 3 or 8 to 5 or something like that, that's feasible for our students who are staying on campus, how is that going to be beneficial to students who want to stay on our campus if they're knowing that they can't have food options that are not available on the weekend?
Like Jen was saying, when we discuss different options and things like that, it comes down to the data and the fact of just opening a smaller space where we run one employee and we don't make enough money even just to pay that one employee. If we were opening the youth center, for instance, we would be losing tremendous amounts of money, which would be very difficult.
Well, and here's the other thing. Nobody wants anyone to start. Let's get that right out of the way. We're not trying to do that. That's why we're open. And granted, it is limited hours, but the fact of the matter is it is open. And it's something that we've been trying to communicate what those hours can be. We can look at adjusting the hours. If the hours we're open right now are convenient, we can look at doing another block of 4 hours. But the intent is not to let anybody go without food. The intent is to try to find balance and to communicate that and to reach out. So I will say that I do take issue with that because that's not the intent whatsoever. But let's talk about what is feasible. We're already saying, look, we're contributing, a losing financial situation because we are concerned about students having access to food on weekends. So we're trying to do that. We are all open to finding the right period of time when we can do that in a reasonable way. So that's the type of feedback I'd love to hear. And I know there's some questions.
So you guys have started with open, but what exactly are we supposed to do? Like, there's really nothing to eat. I'm an out-of-state student, so I'm here every weekend. So having you said open for like a couple hours would be beneficial. That's all we're asking for. You can close right open. So you can close in 4 hours to open. It's just a drink, not even food. Pastries that are there are sometimes hard.
Actually, the food that is there, they're supposed to be sandwiches, salads, fruit. There's supposed to be enough there that you could take something back. Because the thing is that when you open the 3rd floor, which I understand would be optimal, it requires a lot more folks to have that space open. It's a more expensive operation than the 3rd floor. So the 1st floor was a compromise, and there should be things that are available there. The other thing that's always possible is we can work with students who are going to be here on the weekends to pick up food in advance that you could heat up in your room or whatever and make that available. So there's all kinds of ways to ensure that people have the food and things that they need, and we can still stay within the constraints of how we have to operate. So I also offer that as another solution to all of this. And Will, I don't know if you have anything else to add.
If there isn't enough options downstairs at Cafe Blue, I would love to hear about it. Because I don't get any of that feedback, whether it's positive or negative. We always ask for that. Because maybe there isn't enough food down there. I don't ever hear, I just only see the data and talk to the employees, and when they say nobody shows up or there's not enough, no one buys the food that is there, we have concerns of what we should be making. And if we don't know anything else or what people are looking for, it's kind of hard to serve those needs as well.
Yeah.
1 second. I'm going to move the structure to being used on primarily on the microphone is to help out with the flow. And we're going to have 2 more people on this topic, and we're going to move to the next question.
Okay, so I know a lot of people have problems with housing for like the number of nights. So what we could do is fix the amount of nights we're allowed to have for one guest for weekends, and then the money will start coming in for weekends, like to have the businesses open for food. Because a lot of people don't want to come here because they already use up their nights, or it's only 3 nights, maybe there's a 4th night. Yeah, that's one issue.
I'm not sure I understand the question, or the statement. I'm not sure if there's a question in there, but, so are you talking about the guest policy?
Yeah.
Are you a resident student?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the guest policy, I think if I'm interpreting what you're saying, is if we opened or lengthened the amount of time that folks could have a guest, you would bring your guest to dining, and that may increase their business. Is that right?
Yeah, because I know for me and like some people I've talked to, they would love to have their guests over for the weekends, but a lot of times students' classes end Thursday, so it'd be a 4 weekend night for them, and they just don't want to come here because there's no food open on the weekend, so there's not like they would have to eat out.
So I one of the things that I know a lot of students talk about a lot of the times are guest policy. And so it's something that our department evaluates and reevaluates year after year. And one of the folks who's one area, it's Fernando, who's in the room, is the president of our hall council. And I would really encourage you to bring this type of feedback to hall council and going to their open forum meetings, because it's a way for us to get that feedback and get that information from students in terms of what you've raised as a priority. We also had recently put out kind of a student satisfaction survey. I don't know if you remember seeing that, or if you had a chance to put information in there about the guest policy. But it's a policy that's set internally, a policy that we set in housing for housing students. We do it, and the reason we have kind of that limit on consecutive nights is to think about who's living here, who's paying here versus who isn't, and who shouldn't be in spaces for that long, especially if you consider suite mates and roommates and those kinds of things. So it's meant to, the housing community is meant to be a community for the students who opted into that, not for folks who are kind of 4 nights out of a 7-night week is a little bit excessive in my opinion, to be honest. So it's something that we would definitely entertain and think about, but I also have to entertain and think about the safety and the security for the rest of the folks who are in that program. Now, the thing I would really also encourage you to think about is the reason, knowing that food service has limited hours operation right now, is you have kitchens. You have the ability to kind of cook and make that decision through the weekend and think about planning ahead. We run the shuttles out to the area markets. If you're in First Street, you got the farmer's market right across the street, which is an affordable option for fresh produce. It's something to think about. It's something I would encourage you to talk with RAs, who a lot of our staff have done kind of affordable cooking over the weekend programs and things of that nature, but it's an option.
Yeah, but we have meal for like reason, so like.
Sure.
Some families can't get people like their kids want. Sorry.
I can hear it.
Well, if some like families aren't fortunate enough to give their kids money for weekends, like how are they supposed to eat?
I see. So then I would go back to Jen's suggestion, which is working with food service to reserve food for over the weekend that you could pick up on a Friday and take back into your space for the weekend.
I also just want to make a comment on the meal plan itself, is that meal plans are not priced out to give students 21 meals on campus for the whole week. They'd be a lot higher if we were planning on feeding the students 21 meals a week, so 3 meals a day. We realize that our students on campus that live here, that a vast majority of them are not on campus Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So we've kept our meal plan costs to the minimum, or the lowest cost meal plan in the state, and we'd like to keep that at a low cost to give everybody options, and to still make it affordable for those students that are only here for the 4 days on campus too. So there's been a lot of consideration when we've priced our meal plans, just in general. The meal plan averages about $97 a week. So if you did eat every single meal on campus, you'd be well over that.
So I had just a suggestion, I guess, for Picasso. So like, instead of just not having, because I understand that Cafe Blue is open on the weekends and it's open for a minimal amount of time. But the food options there, at least from what I've seen, are either yogurt, like parfaits, tweener sandwiches that sometimes only come in one meat like selection. So like either tuna or chicken, like there's usually only one. And salads there's usually only like 2 or 3 salads, and then the pastries are usually sort of hard and cold by the time that they're being sold. So that is just something that to make aware, like to get to you. But also I think I would suggest like just making like kind of like a trial and error thing, because you're never going to figure out how much money you can either make or lose by never trying something. I think by implementing like 1 weekend a month, or like 1 week where you try to open the 3rd floor of Picasso for like a set period of time. I think by using that data you can decide whether you guys want to continue doing it. But I don't think that by not offering residents an option like that things are ever going to change or get better. So.
I just want to say that we have tried that in the past. So it was before Picasso came on board, but when we had Sodexo here, and at that time we even had 300 plus meal plans on campus. And the number of people that still stayed on campus and utilized those services on the weekends still did not sustain the operation on the 3rd floor. Now we have half of that number of meal plans on campus, more than half of that number of the meal plan. So I understand what you're saying, and I'm not saying that's something that we wouldn't try again, but we do have data from the times that we did do that too, when we had more than double the meal plans we have now.
But I think what you're saying about, so the offerings in the case, I think that that's something that Will's totally willing to look at. I think that that's really valuable feedback. And Will, do you think something's possible to change with that?
Yeah, we can definitely add more, put more options out there. I know when we first started opening, when we were just on the weekends, we had a big variety of different options there. And honestly, the amount of food waste we had, which we did go with, there was a group on campus, food recovery. We were donating, I can't tell you how much, but a lot of food that was just from the 2 days on the weekend, because we try to make food Saturday morning for Saturday, and sometimes we come in for Sunday and make food as well on that. And just the amount of food that just gets wasted because we have it there and it's not bought. It's very difficult to find kind of that happy medium. And if there's certain options you're looking for, I would love that feedback, because if people are gonna buy stuff, I wanna put it out. You know, we wanna sell it if we can, but we just need to know kind of more what you're looking for.
Actually, if somebody wants to start a list of things you'd like to see on weekends at Cafe Blue, and that could just even go around the room, so at the end of this, we can have it and look at what's feasible, that would be fantastic, because maybe there's something out there that you know of that you'd like to see, and we can see what we can do. So asking's free, and we're really willing to look at all of the ideas, so.
And just as another suggestion that we can talk about as well is a possibility of having an order form. We do it for breaks, longer breaks that we have, where you can order meals and then you can warm them up in your room. If that, it's underutilized when we do during the breaks, but I understand at that time we may have additional people leaving the campus and going home and enjoying those holidays and things like that. But if that's something that you guys think would be worth trying, I think that Will's up to that too, and that we could put out an order form that maybe you can submit it by Wednesday and do a pickup either on Friday or that Saturday, and pick up those meals. So that's something that we can do too, to kind of help with that lack of food on the weekends, to help that out. I mean, these are also things that the students can do, is order meals in, you know, that they like. I mean, if I put an order form out there, it's going to be limited to so many meals, you know, so many different items. So I would ask also, if that's not something you want on there, order a pizza. You can order a full pizza from them, or order some meals and put them in your fridge on Friday to help last you through the weekend too. So those are just some options, but I'd be perfectly open to putting out an order form on a weekly basis if that's something that we would like to try as a solution.
Okay, thank you. So with time constraints, we're gonna move on to housing questions. If you have, if you have any questions that have not been answered, just when you submit one, make sure you just put your email on it and we'll keep track of you. We'll have someone respond back to you about the question. So this one here, what % of housing is occupied? Could housing costs be lowered to entice more students to stay on campus? A vibrant campus life supports the educational, social, and communal aims of the university.
Agreed. What I would say is right now about 60% of what we make available for students is occupied. We play with that occupancy number every year to do just what you're saying. And what we've done is we've increased the number of guest and conference beds in the last 2 years, so that revenue can kind of be contributing and to our department, and we're not a general funded department, so all of the money in housing has to be made in housing in order to support that operation. And so in order to help do that and keep that cost lower, we've increased the guest and conference traffic program and kind of lowered that occupancy rate, or lowered that number of beds that are available to students to kind of raise their occupancy. Lowering the cost to attract more folks is something that is a conversation that is active every year. And so we play with the annual percentage increase every year that's submitted to the Board of Regents to do just that, to make it more affordable, to make it more desirable, and to increase the amount of folks who want to live on campus. Obviously, the concerns that I think my good friends up here have mentioned a lot is we have to make money in order to have an operation, in order to create that vibrant atmosphere. And so we are still, and probably will remain for a long time, the lowest cost housing program of all of the Michigan public institutions in the state. We are in the process right now of resetting rates for the next fiscal year. And I can tell you that they are being worked on with this very question in mind. And, you know, I mean, folks, if I could, it would be exactly what you want. You know, it would be, the halls would be full. It would be full of people who needed it. It would be full of at an affordable rate for everybody who found that sense of affordability to be true. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that magic number is. I don't know what that magic, like, ding of the bell is. But if I could, we'd do it, you know? And so that's a big concern of mine. If you ask anybody in this room who works with me around that table, I'm probably the loudest voice at that table about like, so, and everybody else too. So, I mean, everybody else is committed and thoughtful about wanting that experience to be one that folks can have. That's the best answer I have for that question.
I have just a general comment here. I think being student body president myself, I call myself advocate of students. And I think one of the most important reasons we did this forum is so that we can hear some actionable responses. And majorly, I think I've just felt that most of the responses are more on students, that, you know, you should do this, you should do that. I think the whole point of this is so that I totally understand that we cannot have solutions on the table right now. There's business costs, everything needs to be resolved. But I think I would like to hear much more actionable answers and how we can actually make things better. Because if we are just gonna hear information, I think that's available online as well.
So I'm sorry if this wasn't clear in my last answer, but I am making that effort, and my goal right now is to keep the annual percentage rate as low as I can, and I'm in active conversations with that with leadership on campus. And so I'm sorry if that didn't feel like an actionable answer.
I just meant in general.
Oh, okay.
Not just you.
That was clear because I am doing that thing. There's no follow-up to that. I saw a couple of hands go up when I was talking.
Hello. I guess I can see my answer already, but I'm a little bit annoyed that there's an expansion to the Murchie building, and I've never walked through there and be like, wow, I wish there were enough classrooms, but that money could have been used to subsidize both of the housing, student housing, and I know that money probably was unrelated, and you're gonna say that that money was designated for Murchie, but couldn't the university have applied for something like that? Because I don't live on campus, but I have friends that did, and I would have liked to live on campus, but my apartment doesn't cost as much as student housing, and these are students that are paying for classes for their own living expenses, their car, gas, insurance. They're spending money. They're basically living on their own, and I'm irritated to least that there was an expansion to Murchie building, and I know that student housing doesn't cost as much as a new building, and I'm wondering if there's anything that could have been done with that. I don't know.
The answer that you said. So that is so far above my figures. I don't know if you want to talk about that for a minute or not.
That's okay, I'm Mike Hague. That's actually a great question. We just built, so First Street is only, 11 years old? So we built First Street 11 years ago. Murchie is funded, about 3/4 of Murchie is funded by the state of Michigan, of capital outlay. I'm going to give you kind of a quick answer. The capital outlay won't fund housing. The state won't fund, the state of Michigan capital outlay process, when it comes to the state, won't fund student housing options. So if you want to build student housing, it's 100%. So if we wanted to, Murchie's a $39 million project, we had come up with 11 million and the state gave us for the rest. If we want to do a $39 million residence hall, we'd have to come up with $39 million. So that's kind of the thing. And there is a great need for new, I think that if there's people in the sciences, there is a great need for that new structure. And where they're at right now in the parking structure and some of the places where some of the classes are is not where it needs to be. So we look at that every time we're gonna spend money, but you're not gonna get much of a residence hall for $11,000, but we got a whole emergency science building addition, 66,000. So that's the quick answer as to why that is that, so.
All right, this question I think has something to do with like furniture replacement. It's, why is the furniture in the riverfront dorms so torn up?
So some of it is so torn up because it is old, and some of it is so torn up because people cleaned it improperly. If you clean it with a chemical solvent, it's not going to last at all. It needs to be cleaned with a mild soap and water. We've replaced almost every sofa that ended its life cycle last year. We're moving on towards what I would consider the chairs in the space that also started to near their life cycle. If you are a riverfront student and you feel like you have a piece of furniture like that in your space, you should come and talk to us in housing so that we can work on swapping that stuff out. It is definitely not the level of the First Street furniture, in my opinion, is great. I think it's in good shape for the most part. We know that there's pieces that need replacement, but it has a longer life cycle than the stuff in riverfront. So if you're wherever you are, if you are in a space that you feel like has a piece of furniture that is in need of replacement, I would encourage you to come and talk to our office or submit an online work order so that we can get that information in front of us. I saw a second hand then. Yeah.
Madam Vice President.
Hi, everybody. So I have a question about something that I went through last year as a student at First Street. So I'm an international student, and so I don't pay my tuition, my parents do, because if I had to pay it, there's no way I could come to school, right? So my parents have this habit of always paying my tuition late. It's 100% on them. However, we always pay the late fees. So I think really it doesn't matter per se, because as long as the school can their money, it's fine. However, at a certain point, I was told if I don't get my money in by a certain time, I'll be kicked out of the dorm. Mind you, it was in the middle of the winter time. So as an international student, I had to ask like my friends if I could stay at their house because my parents hadn't paid my tuition. And I just think that's not right for international students or even students from the States who like, where are students supposed to go when they, for whatever reason, haven't paid tuition on time? I understand adding extra fees, and I think by all means add the fees, but I don't think it's fair to make a student homeless because their parents or they cannot pay tuition on time.
So I have never made a student homeless. And I have worked with students who need that extra time or have special circumstances to work with student accounting, financial aid, whatever the office might be, to build a plan out to ensure that I'm both in compliance with university accounting and billing guidelines, but I'm also attending to the needs of students. So let me put that up there. The notice that you're referring to that we do send, and we send too often, I would love to never have to send that email again, is basically letting students know that we have identified a concern with your bill, whether it's you're out of status because you haven't managed your previous semester balance, you're out of status because you haven't managed your upcoming semester balance, or there's some other, you haven't accepted enough aid, whatever the irregularity is, because my office works very closely with cashiers, international center, financial aid, to kind of flag those things early and often, and let students know early and often that that's a reality. As we get closer to the beginning of the semester, we try to build a little more urgency into those messages, which is often your housing assignment may be canceled. Not that we will kick you out and you will be homeless. It's not, and I understand, I get the difference between what you're reading, what you're perceiving, and the panic or the concern or the stress that might cause, because every time I hit send on that message, I feel that concern and stress on my end. The goal of that message is to get you in front of me and to have that conversation about an active plan. And then as soon, well, I don't want you to self-identify, but if you're in this room and you've had that experience with me, you know that as soon as we have that conversation, or as soon as you've sat down with Cam or Mary, who I see in this space, we fix it, we manage it, and we give you a secondary plan and a plan of action to make that work. There are definitely times where it doesn't work for that student, but again, that process is handled with care and a concern and a level of compassion and thoughtfulness that I am proud of, and I would stand behind 100% every single time.
Thank you.
So I have a question. Hi everyone, my name is Mustafa. I'm the Director of Financial Affairs with Student Government. This is kind of something that I've had on my mind for a very long time. It's more to do with food services and their pricing. I feel like
we talked, and I heard someone in their question said that they're on a budget. And sorry, as many of us probably are. And another thing is that the food pantry the student government has worked on recognized that there's immense food insecurity on this campus. That's why we pushed to raise $15,000 to end food insecurity for the next 3 years. That being said, I'm holding a common data set in my hand. I've been reading it, and it seems like from full-time undergraduate students, there's about 63% of students on this campus who are on some sort of financial aid. So the question I'm getting at is that when I go to Picasso and I buy a Cliff Bar, it costs me $2. That's just a Cliff Bar. At Walmart, that costs me 25 cents. So we're looking at an 84% margin on a Cliff Bar, and that's just the Cliff Bar. So I don't know what else. We don't have access to any sort of information, financial stuff. Even if Picasso isn't making a profit, it's unfair to push that burden on students who are already paying for college, paying for everything, health insurance. So I think it's unfair that students here have to either pick up the burden or then foot the bill for a supernormal profit. And I just want to know, like, is there a reason if it comes down to transport costs? I know that transport cost is kind of divided by everything you transport. It's not just we're paying this much transport for one Cliff Bar. So could you clarify why there's such a high profit margin on a Cliff Bar?
For different items like that, for a place like Walmart or Meijer or Kroger, a big reason that they can go a lot lower price-wise than we can is they can buy in so much higher bulk than we can. They can get in pallets of different items to where we honestly don't have the space to house that kind of inventory. That's the biggest reason, a Cliff Bar, for instance, that we can't come near that pricing. Because if we buy 2 cases, they're buying 2,000 cases. And they get, such a different price difference than we do because they're buying in that huge bulk amount that we have to have our prices be higher.
It's a little bit of a follow-up to that. My question isn't why does Walmart get things cheaper than Picasso? My question is, why does Picasso push the burden onto students? And secondly, the price I'm quoting for 25 cents or even 50 cents, 84% to 75% profit margin. So my question here isn't, can Picasso get things cheaper from wholesalers? My question is, can Picasso reduce their profit margin to make things easier on students who are already burdened with so much financial pressure?
So here's what's important. Nobody is trying to price gouge students here. Seriously, it's not what we're here to do. When Will talks about the issue of economies of scale when it comes to name brand products like Cliff Bars and things like that, that is what the markup is. It's like if you buy the Cliff Bar at a gas station, it's kind of the same thing, or at smaller mom and pop shops. There is a markup at convenience stores because the economies of scale that a big box retailer can get prices at, it drives that cost down. And it's a reality of it. So I understand where you're coming from and why it seems that way. I'll be honest with you, I don't buy my Cliff Bars here. I go to Meijer and I wait till it goes on sale, and then I got my M-Perks, and then I'm bringing that down. And I know that that's not always an option for students to do that, but I understand wanting to get a good value for your money. So what we are trying to do to address this, because we've heard student concerns about cost, is this year Picasso implemented, a dollar menu. We have special $5 menu. We have also reduced catering costs for student orgs and things like that, where there's a different price that students pay as opposed to departments, and especially our external customers and clients. We're doing all we can on the Picasso side, and believe me, the university advocates for all of our students that we want to make sure that student pricing is as low as it can possibly be. And it's something that's a very real concern to ours. We are always going to look at this. We are always going to try to find ways to make things economical and affordable. But some of this is just the realities of the economics of the size of business that Picasso is, which is a locally owned Michigan business. And they have a different reality when it comes to having to buy in bulk compared to what the big box retailers can do and where they can warehouse and store, and that does bring those prices down. it's a difficult reality. I hear what you're saying. We are always open to a conversation about how to keep pricing low as much as we can. But this is where we find ourselves. But we're going to keep at it. We're not going to give up. But some of this, like the Cliff Bar issues, that's a tough one to change.
So thank you guys for explaining that, and I just want to look at it from a little different angle. I think from what I was hearing is I do think we needed to better understand, to the degree that we can here, the economics behind this issue. But I think what I'm also hearing is that's still not getting at the root cause of the problem. So from my perspective, I think it's a question of, at a university level, is there a way to subsidize the cost of food service in a way that allows Picasso to remain solvent and allows the university to continue to operate without a deficit? And that's coming from an English major. So in terms of the economics. But I guess what I'm saying is, I think this is a cabinet level discussion to determine, is there a way that we can, within fiscal reality and responsibilities, to somehow subsidize it so it is lower for the end user and the consumer, which is the student. So I think that's the conversation that needs to happen. It needs to happen at a very high level.
Sorry to take up so much time, and thank you guys for being here and having this conversation. Jordana, thank you for clearing that up a bit, and I understand the economies of scale. I'm an economics major myself. I have a finance minor. I'm graduating in December, so I have that. But the thing is, when I quote Walmart prices, it's if I walked into Walmart and picked something up off the shelf and walked out and sold it to someone, that's the price I'm looking at. And I'm certain, even if Picasso is a small business, if it's a mid-sized business, it doesn't have economies of scale the way Walmart, Meijer, Kroger, whatever you have do, I still think that the profit margin, and don't get me wrong, the Cliff Bar was just like a representation, because we don't know what else Picasso has and how much it costs them and how much we're paying for it. So my concern here isn't that it should be subsidized and the university shouldn't have to pay for it either. My concern is that the profit margin should be reduced, and that way Picasso still makes money and the students also benefit from it. That's the point I'm trying to get at. Thank you.
I really appreciate what you're saying, and I'd love to continue this conversation more with you, and Will and I, we're happy to sit down, and that's one thing we've been trying to do, because I really take to heart what Nick said. We're not trying to put burdens on you guys to come up with all the solutions. We're truly not. We think about this stuff day and night. We want to make sure that when you have ideas and input, that we're listening, and we will continue all these conversations offline. We recently had our food services advisory group that the Vice Chancellor Giordano has put together, and we're trying to do more to take students sort of behind the scenes of what it is to run food service operations, to get an understanding of what the realities are, and to get all of the heads together about how we deal with these sorts of things. So I appreciate it, and I'm all about saving money, so we can absolutely talk some more about it.
Thank you.
All right, this is the very last question. This one comes for maintenance employees.
I guess so. As hall council president, as a peer educator, this question really bothers me. Well, so it is to my understanding that maintenance works with housing. When will you deal with the blatant sexism your employees show? So I wasn't aware of this myself either, especially as hall council president. I would have done something about it. And if this is real, I'm a peer educator as well. So if you want to talk to me confidentially, or someone higher up in housing, whoever it was who asked this question, I would really want to address this, especially because this is an internal matter that can be solved quickly, potentially doing programs too with the maintenance workers there too, through CTS, more training, something like that, to address, I don't know who the individual in question is at all, or if it's a systemic problem at all, but this is just something I want to address.
I appreciate it. I will honestly say that it's not a concern that has been brought to my attention before. And facilities and maintenance and the custodial staff are departments that work in partnership and work in good partnership with our office. And again, if the person in the room who asked the question is looking for additional support, I refer them to me, the Office of Dean of Students, over to Kirsty Strobel, who's the equity officer on campus. an RA, anyone that you feel comfortable with in order so that we could address and manage the concern is something I would really, really encourage you to do so, or encourage you to do. And that, again, that kind of goes back to an earlier question. I think in any space, in any place on campus, those are the things that I would encourage you to do. And, Fernando, maybe you and I can think about a way to kind of invite some of that feedback in different places, and you could attend a maintenance or facilities meeting with me.
There are mechanisms, thank you. There are mechanisms that we can use to report this anonymously. Guys, we have to get to a point where we are creating a culture of reporting on this campus. This needs to be reported, whether it's anonymous or whether somebody's name is behind it. We need to capture, catalog, and be able to respond effectively and meaningfully to these types of issues. So please, as we continue to move forward, let's all agree that this stuff needs to be captured and reported, because that way we have a record of it, and then we can determine how we're responding to it. It's really important, guys. We got to capture this better.
And also, we're going to have a comment about Hear My Voice, which is a system you can use.
Hi, everybody. My name is Liz Voda. I'm a faculty member here at Michigan-Flint. I'm part of the Student Concerns Committee. This is a committee made up of faculty from all of the different schools, colleges, and library on campus. We also have 2 student representatives chosen typically by student government. We are the body on campus that reviews the Hear My Voice complaints that are submitted either anonymously or, even better yet, if you include contact information. And these Hear My Voice submissions can be on any topic, not specific to housing, student life, could be academic, could be something with a transcript, anything like that. And we kind of farm them out to the different departments that need to answer these questions. And then we follow up with them to make sure that you are getting your answers, okay? The Hear My Voice is linked on several places on the university website, including Blackboard, as well as the Vice Chancellor's committee. And there's a couple of us on the committee who are in support of the student concerns today. So we are here, we are listening to you, and we just want to make sure that you guys are having a good experience here at Michigan-Flint.
All right, thank you so much for coming to this event. Unfortunately, we don't have any more time, but I would like to add that student government does have your concerns. I'm going to go through the concerns and separate them between the housing and general concerns about campus as well as food. And what I'm going to do based off of the concerns that were in the room is I'm going to actually bring them up in our student rep meetings, student government reps. So if you're interested in being a part of that conversation, please write down your email and your name and put it in the box. And I'm going to invite you to the meeting so we can discuss it. And I want to also have that discussion with solutions as well attached to it. And we're going to bring that to these individuals that are a part of the panel, or to whoever it needs to be filled in that conversation. We'll also be put into the Hear My Voice process, so that we talk about the students' concerns committee. So I want you to know that if, you can always talk to me. I'm always around campus, and just know that I'm going to fight for your concerns to be addressed. Also, just a reminder, the next open forum is going to be March 20th from 1:30 to 2:30. It's going to be with Chancellor Dutta is going to be speaking at that forum. So prepare your questions, and thank you so much for coming.
Is it working?
Thank you, Jeff. Take some cookies on your way out.